Um, so the next movie that we're gonna get into is Book of Clarence, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Book of Clarence stars Lakeith Stanfield. So he's like this like street smart guy who's like down on his luck. He's struggling to find his way for him and his family, his mother specifically. He's trying to like free himself of debt. He's in the beginning of the movie, it starts with like a little street race. So him and his best friend are racing Mary Magdalene, who's played by Tiana Taylor, and her beautiful ass. And he loses the street race. Oh my God. So
And he gets robbed.
yes, by some gypsy kids. So he's captivated by the power and the glory of the Messiah, right? So let me move back a little bit. He loses the race. This race was very important because he borrowed money from, what's his name? Jebediah the Terrible.
Yeah.
So this is like the big bad guy. This is like the guy of the town, Jerusalem, apparently.
And to give you a little more backstory, so this movie takes place in a satirical biblical setting.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a satire biblical movie here, and so that's why you're going to hear things that are similar to Jesus, Peter, Judas Iscariot. Like you're going to hear those names that get brought up in this movie because it's essentially like basically there's a disciple named Thomas. If you read the Bible, in this story, he has a twin brother named Clarence.
Yeah, so Clarence is played by Lakeith Stanfield, and then
So is Thomas.
Jesus Apostle is also played by Lakeith Stanfield.
No,
and
okay, say that one more time.
Jesus Apostle, his apostle Thomas,
Yeah, okay.
also played by Lakeith Stanfield, and they live with Lakeith Clarence lives with his mother, Marion G. Baptiste, and so after this race, he's in like a bunch of trouble because Ivan the Terrible is literally not Ivan the Terrible. That is literally not.
That's a white man.
Yeah. That just like where did that come from?
That's a real person's name.
I know it is, but like that just came out of nowhere. Jedediah the Terrible is going to crucify him. Like he's literally gonna crucify him. So he gets baptized in hopes that word will spread that he has he's become a man of God, because Clarence does not believe in Jesus.
Shout out to the atheists.
Or his miracles. So he hopes that the news of him being a man of God will spread and will stop Jebediah from crucifying him. Everyone calls his bluff, though, and they're like, we know what you're doing. So eventually...
Well, John the Baptist wouldn't give him a baptism. He tried to drown him.
He literally... yeah, he tried to drown him.
He went to Buddy's sister, who was his love interest.
Who also happens to be Jedediah the Terrible's...
That's what I say, his sister.
Oh, Buddy, yeah.
He went to Buddy's sister.
Jedediah's
sister. She was no help. She wasn't going to look out for him.
No.
So then he even went to his brother, and he asked to be the 13th disciple.
And his brother laughed in his face, and he was like, you're not good enough. You've always been a joke.
Yeah, they all laughed at him, but they gave him a test. They told him if he can go free the slaves, then he could, do it. He could potentially be an apostle.
Mm-hmm.
He went out there.
Okay, you go ahead.
No, so he went out there. He got an opportunity that he couldn't free all the slaves, but he could free one slave, Barabbas.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a knowledgeable person in theology, Barabbas was the murderer who was switched places with Jesus. He was offered Barabbas, and they said they'd rather Barabbas be free instead of Jesus. In this story, Barabbas is Achilles from the Greek mythology.
Technically.
They mixed that up where he is now an immortal that can only be hurt by his heel, even though they kind of they write that out later on in the movie as well. But
he said wrong heel though. That's why.
okay.
So quickly on Barabbas, he's freed by Clarence, and then they're like mans. So towards the end of the movie, there's a scene where the Romans approach them, and he is stabbed through the heart. Doesn't kill him because he's immortal. He's stabbed through the heel, but then apparently he was like, wrong heel, motherfucker, and then he pulls it out and just keeps running. This movie, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny.
But we got to get into one more part here. So after he frees Barabbas, he wasn't able to free the other slaves, but he was able to free Barabbas. He goes back to the apostles, and they decline him being the 13th apostle.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you about to say? No, so they go into the next best scam. He says, if the Messiah won't take me, I'm going to be the Messiah.
Because he doesn't believe Jesus is the Son of God, or he doesn't believe in the Immaculate Conception or anything of that nature. He just thinks that like the Messiah is a trickster, and he's been like pulling tricks on people, and the disciples are just like all in on it, and that he's doing this for financial gain and notoriety.
So they go all up and down the West Bank, basically fooling everybody, giving them money, acting like he's bringing people back from the dead, acting like he's curing blindness,
yeah,
all of this,
crippledness, and all that.
So he starts to get the attention of the Roman Empire, and they not trying to fly with this Messiah shit.
So the Roman Empire had already had the attention of the Roman Empire because of the original Messiah, but then now the Roman Empire stepped in because they were like, there are multiple messiahs, and now these messiahs are spreading gospel that our men are created equally, and we cannot have that because y'all are black, and we don't think y'all are created equally.
So the Romans were a place of the white supremacist system that was going on, and the Jewish people at the time were reflection of the black people who, living in America now. That was kind of like the correlation between the two.
It was just a representation of white supremacy.
So in the midst of the heat going on with Jebediah, everybody's kind of that ending conflict happening, Clarence gets arrested. He gets brought in, and at the same token, you also kind of get the Last Supper view as well. You kind of get that look,
which was one of my favorite scenes. I think one of my favorite things about this movie was like how it was shot. I think cinematically it was very aesthetically pleasing. That was one of my favorite scenes. And then one of the scene where Clarence decides to start doing all of the blasphemy, acting like he's the Messiah. He's at like a roadside hookah shop, and then everyone who gets high is like floating in the air, and it's so cool. And it looks like some Bootsy Collins produced shit. I love it so much. It's very quirky.
So in his trial, they actually have Ian McGregor. I think he's supposed to be Pontius Pilate, and he goes in to try to prove that this man isn't a Messiah. So they have this little trick where they open up the gate, and there's supposed to be like this pool of water. And he says to him, if you can cross this pool of water, you're the Messiah, I'll let you go. If you fall, you'll just drown, and we'll put the lid back on top of you. So Clarence is shitting a brick.
So right before this, there's a little trial, and he's like, I'm not the Messiah, I'm not the Messiah. And then the whole crowd is like, liar, liar. The whole crowd is like, you're the Messiah, you're just trying to save your ass right now. You are the Messiah. So the Romans are like, you're the Messiah, you're just lying to us, even though Clarence is telling the truth. He was like, this is a scam. So they make him do that.
He walks over the water, and the entire time is perplexed. He doesn't know how he's doing it.
The sky. So right before he walks on the water, he looks up, and then the sky opens up, and it's like majestic heavenly rays of sun coming down, and then he's able to walk on the water.
He doesn't understand it. Everybody's freaking out. They even had like the Roman soldiers try to jump at him. They're all fall in the water.
Yeah, they're drowning.
And Ian McGregor says, I wish you would have fell in the water because I wouldn't have killed you, but now I have to.
Yeah.
And then they commence the crucifixion.
So they throw him in jail, and his twin brother comes to the jail cell to visit him. And this is when Clarence finally is like, I believe in God. Like, his brother is like, do you believe? And Clarence is like, I don't believe, I know. Like, this is it for me. So I think the entire movie was his redemption, him coming into his power, and then he didn't come into his full power until he opened himself up to believing in God. That's literally.
I don't even think it was that though. I don't even think it's the redemption in that. I think the redemption came when he said he was solid on Jesus.
So when he believed that the Messiah was somebody worth saving.
No, it's not that. He was not. He was saying, he even told Pontius, he said, I don't believe he's the Messiah. And even if I did, I still wouldn't put you out because that's my man. It's like, he's part of us. Mm-hmm. And that was the main thing. He was like, I'm not doing it because he is one of my people.
Okay, so he was just being a stand-up nigga.
Yeah, that's why I don't even get a part where he said he believed he was the Messiah. He was just saying, I'm not throwing away Jesus because he's one of my people.
Well, no, after the walking on water thing, he changed his tune completely, and he was a believer of everything.
I mean, if the last sentence that he told Pontius was, I don't have to believe in him. He's one of my people. I'm not.
He said, I don't believe, I know.
Well, I mean, I don't believe I know is I don't.
I know. Like, he said that he has. His whole thing was that he didn't have proof, and his experiences is what gave him the proof that he needed to believe.
I mean, one thing
in the end, he was 1000% a believer in God and the Messiah. Yeah, How did you not get that from that? It's because you're an atheist. When his brother came to his cell, he was like, "Are you a believer now?" And then he was like, "Yes, I don't. Yes, because I don't believe. Now I know."
That, to me, I didn't get it from that because one, Jesus wasn't even around to show that's who did the walk on water. And secondly, that miracle fucked you. So why would you feel like that helped you?
Let me so then moving on from that to further prove my point that he did believe that Jesus was the Messiah. After he gets crucified and dies, Jesus opens his cave, brings him back to life. He gets up. The first thing he says is, "My Lord," to Jesus.
I mean, yeah.
He comes up, he's like, "My Lord," because he believes now.
But yeah, you died and came back. That's not.
Oh my God, how are you trying to argue
I'm not arguing. I'm saying that
all of these things, he does now believe.
Because that's not belief anymore. If I show you that I have it, if I show you, okay, like this, if I tell you I got a gold rock,
yeah, because he had proof.
Listen. If I got a gold rock in my pocket and I tell you to believe I got a gold rock in my pocket and I show you I got the gold rock, do you have to believe it anymore? He didn't about to believe. He was shown.
We skipped over one of my favorite parts of the movie is while Clarence was captured by the Romans, there's this homeless dude that's just like been walking around in Jerusalem the whole time, and actual Jesus blesses him and makes like gold start coming out of his palms.
Shekels,
gold, whatever, start coming out of his palms. He goes, gets cleaned up. He looks like your traditional white depiction of Jesus, white man, long hair, robe. He's walking around doing miracles, giving people money.
It's Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So he is also one of the Jesuses, the Messiahs that gets crucified along with the other Jesus. And there is
the other Jesus doesn't get crucified. We never see the black Jesus.
Well, the actual Jesus never gets crucified, but with Clarence and a couple other people, I think it's like 4 people who get crucified at the same time.
It's more than that. It's more. What they do is they take the white Jesus and they recreate the traditional white Jesus dying on the cross imagery, where you have white Jesus in the middle and 2 people next to him. But if you look at it, there's probably 9 people getting crucified at that time.
Yeah. So in the crowd there is, I don't think it was a Roman. I think it was a citizen of the Jerusalem city that was painting the crucifixion.
That was St. John.
and he only painted the white Jesus getting crucified, which is hilarious because then they just took that and ran with it, which is why I think they put that in there. Yeah, so I think we jumped around a lot back and forth because we missed a couple things, but that's the Book of Clarence. It ends with Clarence being crucified and then being resurrected by actual Jesus. He sits up, he's like, my Lord.
After being shown, because that's what he said too. He needed to be shown. He said that to his brother
and then
earlier.
He said he was shown. So
I will say this: all y'all who had something to say about Lil Nas X and didn't say anything about this movie, y'all suck and y'all lame as hell. Because this was basically the same thing, the exact same premise and movie, exact same thing. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Unless
but nobody in this film was gay, so nobody was mad.
Are you sure?
Well, I'm not.
All right, man. I think we can leave it up